Back to Backroom Talk. This season, we're bringing you behind-the-scenes conversations with awesome coaches who are shaping the future of fitness. I'm your host, Candace Dixon, CMO of OPEX and CoachRx. In this episode, I sit down with Attila Kortvelyessy as he shares his fascinating evolution from military service to fitness studio owner and coach to fitness business mindset coach. Attila dives into how he's navigated multiple transitions in his career by focusing on relationship building and having the courage to take calculated risks. He walks us through the challenges of marketing mindset coaching in an industry focused on physical results, the power of one-on-one coaching for transformative outcomes, and why understanding clients' needs beyond fitness is critical for sustainable success. What really shines through is his belief that coaches should really focus on mindset and client relationships first before actually delivering fitness. Whether you're a career coach or thinking about coaching as your next move, this episode is packed with insights that you can put into action right away. All right, let's jump into my chat with Attila.
Good afternoon. I wanted to say...
How are you? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. Can you hear me okay?
Good.
I wanted to say...
What time is it for you?
7 a.m.
7 a.m. Okay. Well, I will try not to be too loud and excited. It's 4 p.m., so I'm riding the high of the day and my energy's up, but I'll pull it back.
That's fine. I'm the same hike across the day, so it will make no difference.
What's on your agenda for the day?
For today, it's I'm gonna go to swim right after this, and then I'm gonna work on some small projects, and then I have some calls in the afternoon. Wednesday, it's always a light day.
That's your day of the week to take care of you, regroup, and be able to have the energy to support clients the rest of the week?
I do believe every day is like that, taking care of myself a bit. No, we tend to forget that. It's
Good.
not overdoing it, but still prioritizing.
What does a typical day look like for you? Something similar to today, or is it all over the map depending on the day of the week?
It depends a bit. We jumped right into you interviewing me, so
yeah, we're good.
I'm trying to pick up the speed. I think it has changed a lot in the last few months because I'm transitioning with the things I'm doing. So what I have done in 2024, just a few months ago, it was very different than what I'm doing today. And today it's more preparing some project I was excited about for a very long time last year, but I never had time. So end of the year, I said, okay, I need to find time for myself and the things I'm more excited about.
Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on what you were doing and where you're going?
I was thinking it sounds
if you don't mind sharing, I'm interested.
I think it sounds very mysterious.
It does.
It's I don't know where to start it. I owned a fitness studio in Luxembourg, and then we extended that brand. So then we got 2 studios, and they were basically, at the start, they were really to be honest, I don't know how an OPEX gym looks like today. I remember how they looked like 6, 7, 8 years ago. So that's almost how we started.
Fairly similar.
Yeah. So it's I believe it's like individual design, people getting their program, more functional equipment, but end of the day, not limited to that, but based on what you believe is right for your clients. So that's something we did. And then one thing we recognized is that our clientele was not really ready to get their own program. So you had to create like a very long onboarding process, which was basically with personal training to prepare them for the service they initially looked for or get excited about. And that started to work really well. So when we were opening the second studio, we already went into that direction, that we had more like a 30, 40 personal training leading into individual design and then recurring PTs with the coaches. So they can just involve people more in the process and they don't fall out, or they don't prioritize the wrong thing in their program, or they don't spend the time on the, I don't know how to put this, there can be a lot of time wasted in the process just because the client is getting something they are not ready for. And what happened in 2024, I get some reach out from fellow coaches who wanted to build something similar service-wise or do the same. And then I recognized that after almost a decade with working with clients, actually, it's much more exciting to work with other coaches and trainers Plus, the other thing I recognized, I'm not an expert in marketing, but I love like strategy and product design and service creation. And I recognize that I think the fitness world has two huge problems. And one is it's rooted in communication. Coaches don't know how to talk about their services, but they don't know how to talk to clients actually. And I think the industry itself makes a huge disservice on a global level because we all say the same. Like if you are a global gym, you do the same service for people like if you are an OPEX coach, and you do the same if you are a bootcamp trainer. And we can understand that it's confusing for the market, but then the expectations go the wrong direction. And the other is it's also that because of this, I think many people who come into business, they just come with passion, but they never really take the most simplest, purest marketing frameworks how to develop a good service. And then they just look around, Control C, Control V, they make a copy paste, and then they are confused why their business is not working. So
Yeah, I think we saw that a lot initially. And even still, we don't really have new OPEX gyms launching, right? That program is sort of sunset, so to say. We have a group of legacy gyms that are part of the community, but we're not actively onboarding new licenses. And I think there is sort of a desire for a coach to, have a meeting, have a discussion, and say, "Show me the way, give me the template, tell me the service blueprint." And there are obviously guidelines and principles that can be taught, but every market is so different, and it really does take that business owner understanding the why behind the systems and then understanding the needs of that particular market and creating something that makes sense for their business. And I think that is a very unique skill set, especially most fitness coaches don't enter the market because they want to be business people. They want to coach, So I think that's a great opportunity for you.
imagine that what you say. What is really fun, and I think it's likely rooted in that you want to help people with their health and fitness, which is a very fragile, sensitive, vulnerable spot that coaches feel offended once you start to speak about business. They even refuse it. That it's not for the business. It's not. And I thought it's a hype back in time, but even 10 years ago, you still see the same, that they don't want to charge, they don't want to keep the business healthy. It's all about passion and become a victim in this whole process instead of recognizing that, hey, actually, if I do this as a business, I will have a huge impact and that will be great. But all the words you use, that was a recognition for me as well, and the people who work with me. It's really like the blueprint that, because I have seen your story and I saw you also worked with, and you are passionate about marketing and went all around the fitness industry and have in different places. So I think there are people who really enjoy this to figure out a way and how to do it better. But what you just said before, I recognize the same, that some people just want a blueprint that, no, it's like, give it to me, I will do it, but please don't make me think and figure and take the time to see what's the best.
Please guarantee me it will be successful.
But you know what's the most interesting about this? And I think that really resonates with OPEX coaches, that if your client tells you this, you're going to be honest and tell them that I cannot do this. It always depends. That's why you have your personal program. That's why we do things custom. That's why we check in. That's why we consult, because there is not one perfect sequence of actions to get you there. And then once they step out from the consult room and they look at their business, they forget this. And they expect the exact same thing, that, no, just can you please tell me how I'm going to make more money, how I'm going to get more clients? And you are like, I really don't know. The one thing I know is the same what you try to tell your clients, that what's the mindset you should have to get there. But the action's going to follow your mindset in the context of what you just said, your own market, your culture, etc.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, let's go backwards before we go forward into that, because that's super interesting. But for anyone listening to have the context of what got you started in fitness, and then how did that evolve to you becoming a professional coach? And like, what has your career trajectory been? Because obviously there's gym ownership and now you're mentoring other coaches. So can you just walk us through that journey for you personally? And it doesn't have to be super in detail, but just for context.
I could go into detail. Because that's a story I said many times, or I told many times, so hopefully I can say it well. But
it is your life, right?
You know how it started for me. I absolutely did not want to coach anyone ever. I also did not want to, or maybe I want to, but I never thought about it like consciously, or there was no intention. I was almost for a decade in army, and I was deployed for the second time in Kosovo. And there I met a young lady from the Luxembourgish army, Sophie. She was also deployed at that time. And we actually met in the gym in the base. And then we started to have some conversations, and then we fell in love. And her dream was and vision was always to have a gym or a fitness studio, because she grew up in Luxembourg, and I think most people don't really know where to point on the map when it comes to Luxembourg, but Luxembourg is like top 3, if not top 1, richest country in the globe, super wealthy, people living really well, but having really good access to healthcare and all the rest, ultimately having a really bad level of fitness, simply because they invest into good cars, holidays, wine, good meals. Plus, it's a bit of it's a vineyard region, so people tend to enjoy life more than doing fitness. And obviously, I'm generalizing, so everyone listening from Luxembourg feeling bad about this, I think they still gonna recognize the very national stereotypes. And but the other thing you need to know that it's a very tiny country, so you can pass the borders in 30 minutes in any direction. So that means that it's 600,000 citizens. So anyone from, like a city of New York or any capital, they would be like, okay, what's your issue there moving around? But the issue is that it's a few towns and many, many small villages. So when Sophie wanted to go and train, when she figured that she want to take care of her own fitness, she always needed her parents to take her to the city and then pick her up and then take her home, because with bus it would take like forever. And so her dream was that, no, I always wanted to have a gym in my region, very close, so it's accessible to local people and youth and teenagers. And I think I came into this clearly because of how we felt for each other as two person, but also because I think it was more the officer in me who just likes to strategy, organize, what's the next step, how to build this. And I liked fitness. But I never had this intention that I should coach others. So in 2016, 17, she left army, I left army. We came to Luxembourg, or we went to Luxembourg end of 2017, and then we opened in 2018. And we opened as CrossFit, and we never made group class. We almost had like a breakup conversation on this when we were driving to Luxembourg, how to run the place, because we were discussing this individual design approach, and I was like, this is just a hell lot of work, who's gonna do that? And then Sophie was like, no, but we have seen that you cannot give a group session to people and templated programs. And so we had a really big fight.
Has she already gone through CCP, or is this just her perspective?
No, to be fair, I do believe even most ambassadors don't remember that CCP. It was like maybe not the first, but the second version, really few videos, very poor quality videos, where like really the kind of CCP where the content is amazing, but the delivery, it's what's necessary to be there. It was really not coherent as often. I think after that, when Jim Cravel came on the team, and I think you came after on the team, and when you hired the media team, that's when the current CCP, maybe you even have a new variation since then, but that's when the upgrade happened. So I do believe the most thing we knew about like individual design and CCP existing was Marcus Philly. But even that Marcus Philly was the 1,000 followers, not the functional bodybuilding guy with a whole business. So it's really fun. It's really also that time, when you could believe that you can be a CrossFit game athlete, because the whole world in 17, 18 was still so smaller, and this Instagram was really used for sharing good information, not stupid reels to catch attention. So I found Marcus Tilly, and his coach was an OPEX coach who worked next to James. So I found James' profile, and I was like, oh, there is a guy who shares random photos with very smart captions on it. And then we recognized that this actually exists, but I still did not know there is a course. We were just picking up stuff from Instagram posts and who is working at how, and by some coincidence, it was matching the way we were working out. And then once we opened...
When you had the discussion with her about the debate between how to run the model operationally, did she bring up like the higher price point with an individual design type service versus the scale of volume of clients you'd have to have in the gym class model? To like, were you working through the financial outlook on the two models?
No, that's,
or you were just thinking about the work?
Yeah, and coaching people and helping. That's why what I told you about at the start, where I am, is because we came into, I lived this. She was 21, I was 26. No one were thinking about finances. We just wanted to have a place where people get fit and we can teach them a muscle up. So no, it was not a part of the conversation. It was really about how to give best service ever to people that makes sense, because we have seen what happens in a group class and that made no sense.
So she won the debate.
I was not against it. I think I had difficulties to visualize the execution on such a scale. But, at the same time, it also made sense because that's what we were doing. And, but being shy, copy-pasting the market, we were like, let's have PT, let's have ID, let's have group class on the offer. And then, and people came in and no one wanted group class. And most people wanted ID, and a few people wanted PT moving into ID. So it's funnily, after I have seen so many times where coaches wanted to change because they evolved with service providing, and they were always like, oh, but our people like the group. And that's where I love that you say that it depends a lot on the market, because in our market, we have seen that no one ever asked for it. No one was excited about whatever a group kind of offer. They were like, oh, there is a option which is fairly priced, plus it gives the best to me. Why would I want to go to a group? So that
makes sense. So you opened the doors and no one went to group, had this split between ID and personal training. And how long did you have the gym actually running for?
It was 2018 January, and it's still running. And in between the change we had, that we started as CrossFit, and then we recognized that again, such a huge mistake, because we had the license, we were passionate about it, we thought it's a way of fitness, and none of our clients would enjoy a CrossFit style group class. Plus, we had many clients who... So when I say people were excited about their own program, those are the people who came to get fitter. But we get many people who came for CrossFit. And for us, it was obvious that our proposal is much better. But for those people, it was a mismatch, because they wanted to have the group, that kind of energy, that vibe, those kind of exercises. So we were like, okay, we have to drop the CrossFit name ASAP. So I think we had it from January to August, and afterwards we continued just with fitness. And 2018, 2019, then we had the COVID, 2020. Then after COVID reopening, I was already thinking that we have to restructure some things, we have to change prices, we have to change the service proposal we make and the offers. So we rebranded, and it came together with opening the other studio. So then we rebranded, because originally we used the name Fitness Dionysos. It was, sometimes people are confused about Dionysos, it's the Greek god of wine. And we just choose the name because we were in the vineyards. It's the beautiful wine region above the river in Luxembourg. It's a very nice place. But
Well, that is beautiful. Yeah.
Even there, people tend to use the Latin name Bacchus, so everyone was confused what's the name about. Plus, when you run your place in a hangar in between those who are truly selling wine, having grapes on your logo, it's very confusing. People come in for wine, not for...
With a glass. They're
Yeah,
like, I'll take my air bike with a glass.
yeah. So we rebranded in 2021, and the places are still going.
Amazing. And now primarily ID, or still a split between ID and personal training?
There is a split now, which was just it was just a business decision, which is I believe you can always have a business vision, and then you can have a business goal, and they don't always match. So we were like, we are turning away a lot of clients who then don't end up in a better place simply because of financial consideration, which, those people might have or not have the money, but they were mentally not ready to pay for the thing they should. So we were considering that, okay, shouldn't be an offer where they stay with us and then eventually you can truly make them sign up for the service they need, rather than sending them away and then hoping that they find a way back when their eye is opening up. So it's very ideally, it's a personal training leading into ID, because it's I never met a person who could not spend some personal training with coaches, but I do not. James always had this famous sentence that it's babysitting. And so I think if your only service is PT, then it becomes babysitting. But if your intention is clear that no, we do this together, so you can do this without me, only through a program and me looking at you, I think then it makes a lot of sense. Then I have never seen a single person, independent from their experience, who would not benefit from spending 10, 20, 30, 40 one-on-one session with their new coach.
Yeah. Just for clarification, the main difference between the PT service and the individual design service is that for PT, they're just coming in for that session. Their coach may or may not do some long-term planning or pre-prep for that actual session, but the client isn't necessarily experiencing the full service. Versus ID, they would go initial consult, assessment, ID, maybe have some in-person sessions, but more so executing their programming on their own and connecting with the coach remotely. Is that how you're distinguishing the two, or do they overlap more than that?
They overlap a lot. So if a person comes in, and that was a lot of work. We made the long version and the short version, so it overlaps so much that or base PT offer, it's about getting you successful in ID. Which means that if in ID your clients don't execute tempo, they don't save their results as you want. Like, I think these are the things even OPEX coaches struggle with. If they don't check in, if they skip sessions, if they only do the sessions they like really, from a coach perspective, stupid. From a client perspective, important emotional considerations. These are the things we wanted to get rid of. We were like, what are all the things that frustrate us in ID? And we all packaged that into PT. So by us, how PT looked like was, this is how you breathe in your session. This is how you brace. This is when you exhale. This is when you inhale. Now we practice this in a band and a hinge. We practice this in a squat. We practice this in a row. This is the equipment. This is how you save your scores. This is movement phases, up, down, eccentric, concentric. This is tempo. Once you know this, then, so we really went through, like, this is how you read your program.
These are the skills, these are the tools that you need to be able to be successful as a client.
Exactly. And we build this out on a journey of 36 sessions, and we build this out on a journey of 90 sessions based on the willingness of the person to engage. And it was super successful because we just put that, it's like, this sounds like very tiny things, but clients had a milestone. And once you spend time with clients in a very structured way, they were always like, oh, this session was kind of boring because we were just hinging. We were like, yeah, give me, 3 more boring sessions like this, but you will be more successful than our clients who spent 5 years with us. only because we focused on the right thing and we did not give in to start to entertain you or do what you imagined it should be. And it worked really well. It was really like after...
Wow. So you are really selling the long game from day one with personal training packages. I mean, have you had a challenge like getting someone to buy in to that commitment of, you said 36 sessions in the smaller session, in the smaller set?
We had challenges, but I think that's more an issue of pricing, which I will do differently and what we are working on now from distance. Because I think where we go wrong, and it's a whole different problem. But what we have seen, we had clients who didn't really care. So the one thing was we never really released the length. If they come in and they said, I just want to improve my fitness, then it's us who has to know how long it's gonna take based on how they perform session by session. But as we said, no one can promise. We just know that if we only look at like objective markers, it's likely 30 to 40 sessions, because we have seen that total beginner clients walk in shy, no confidence, lost. And around session 25-30, they are like, oh, you still didn't finish with the other client. I start to warm up. I know what to do. So you're like, okay, likely that's the time when there is a chance that they start to do things on their own while you still meet them every week or every second week for the rest that's there. So we, at the beginning, we never worded how long is the journey. And then you learn, by making mistakes. And we had clients who were really like pissed off because you told them it's gonna be 6 months, but then they didn't show up for the session, or they were sick, or they traveled. And then the 6 months came and they were like, so am I ready? And you're like, well, if you will take the X sessions we agreed to, yeah, but you only took the half of them, so no. And then they were like, no, you said 6 months. And you were like, no, the 6 months was like an addition to like have a time frame on the total session number. It was not the only metric. So we were like, okay, we have to change this, how it's sold and how it's communicated. And then we figured that the 36 session approach was very intense, but it could be almost like an accountability challenge for the right people. So I'm not saying it's working with everyone, but those people, I think we made that for like 6 months, and everyone who joined there, they are still there. And they
I mean, it's an incredible concept for those that do buy in, because I mean, they literally take, like you said, so many years off of their personal fitness journey by front loading with all of the learning and the preparation.
And yeah, and they were like, they had already, I think, a bit of an advanced mindset, which is, I give, hands down to Sophie, because she made all those consultations to figure that out and put people into the right place with the mindset they brought. She was really great with that. So all those people were up to the challenge, because we said that we give you this offer if you show up for 12 weeks, 3 times a week. Because I also believe many coaches, even in OPEX and around the world, we struggle that people just don't want to find the time. Yeah, this sounds amazing, but I can only come once or twice a week. I already know that just based on biology, like we really need frequency. So, and they were like, okay, I'm going to be here. And they were there and it worked well. So when they reached that point, they were like, what's next? And, you could really smoothly, because I think the other thing many coaches struggle with, it's lifestyle and nutrition, helping people there. And we made this clear that no, it's in this first 36 sessions, we don't even address that. But once we are there, you have enough exercise selection plus competence, confidence to show up alone. You don't need me to do those 2-3 sessions you are ready for. So the next thing we can do is to sit down and, discuss actually those things which will make the real change for you. And most people, they bought in very easily, because we also had this wall in a very first consultation that, yeah, it's nice that it's a part of the service, but I just feel ready now to exercise. So, let me only pay for that. But to go back for the very first issue, what you asked, that we had some resistance, but what I said, I think it was more a pricing problem, where when it's PT, you offer like a per session price, and once it becomes ID, you propose more like a subscription price. And so one thing we start to play with is how to find the perfect flat rate subscription price, which is basically like an insurance. That if you come to me, you just pay X $100 or euros every month, and you get whatever you need. And if it's 12 PT, you get 12 PT. If it's 9 PT, you get 9 PT. But you don't question it because long term it's balancing itself out. And I think once you do that.
And this is just you and Sophie doing all of the coaching in the facility, or did you have additional coaches supporting the demand of clients coming in like that?
We had a team. So I think the biggest team we had was 5 of us. But that's last year, so I'm also not there anymore. It's I could also talk about it long. It's a difficult thing to let something go, but I just recognize that I absolutely don't enjoy anymore, to work with clients. And it's and you have coaches who are excited about teaching a squat again and again. And I was like, I just teach this so many times, and I can do this again. I will just not enjoy it. And when you are a professional service provider, you learn how to deliver on a high level. But I think people still start to sense it once you are not just super happy when being with them. So I was like, okay, it's just time to go and do the next thing, because there should be a next thing.
Do you think that's just your personality as, obviously as an officer, as a leader, you've mastered these things, you've built this success, and your mind is already on to the what's next and what's the next challenge for you personally? Was it more of that kind of a burnout sort of scenario, or did you just realize like coaching is just not your passion because something else is?
It's a very difficult question, because when you always look at things retrospective. So when we made it, I always enjoyed it. But when I look back now, I'm like, oh, actually, I never wanted to have a gym. It was Sophie who wanted to have it. And so you start to explain everything from the thinking of the moment. So from that perspective, I would say it's because of who I am. And I was thinking a lot about this, that I think it's very rare to find a position in fitness which provides you a real career, where because you go to corporate and people will throw around this C-level and junior, senior, and A1, B2, and career paths and everything. And those people in that bubble, they know what this is. And everyone knows that if they work just well enough, there is something that they can always look at. But you come into fitness coaching and you're like, okay, what do I do? Let's do personal training. And oh, okay, I'm starving. Let's raise prizes. And once you did that, you are like, what's next? Okay, let's do semi-private. So I gain more time, get more people done. And you are done with that and you're like, what do I do? Do I go online? But online is just so crazy difficult today, because we have algorithm and we have a huge market and it's so saturated. So I'm like, how do I go online? But I'm also not excited to go online. So what's next? And you're like, well, go and get a job somewhere. Oh yeah, but I love fitness. And you're like, yeah, but you don't have to do fitness forever. So I think it's very difficult to find a position. Plus, even if in a facility you find, or in a brand you find, or within a team you find, those are not always exciting positions. And then I was thinking of Army, and it was the same. I was a combat unit officer, but once you reach the level of captain and you lead a company, you're going to go to staff and you're going to do paperwork as a mayor. And all combat unit officer hated it, because that means you are not allowed to work with people and you don't do the real job anymore. It was only a very few people who were tired and said, okay, it's like, that's what I always wanted, to sit in the office. So I think it's the same for many PTs, that they are like, they want to have a career and go somewhere, but the options to grow, it's kind of limited. But at the same time, I also came to recognize that it exists anywhere. So it's a very conflicting field, right? Because people come to you at a spot and you want to take them like this. So it's only natural that your own journey should go like that. But, there are doctors who became GPs and they do that for 40 years sitting in the same office. So you are like, okay, someone becomes a postman and they are a postman until they retire. So it's also normal not to have a career. But I think it's very difficult in fitness simply because of the setting you spend your time in, which is always about growing and getting better.
100%. Yeah. I mean, especially as obviously in the OPEX community with lifelong learning, commitment to growth being such a core value, um, most of the coaches are encouraged, celebrated for their forward thinking, problem solving, desire to build something different and better. And I think that's very normal. Yeah. I mean, I can completely relate on both sides. I spent the majority of my career, the first 12, 15 years in corporate ad agency world, working on all kinds of brands that were not fitness related. But my personal interest was fitness. So I found a way to leave the agency, go brand side. And I took on a CMO role at bodybuilding.com, which here in the States was very well known e-commerce editorial platform for fitness, nutrition, supplementation. And then my career sort of evolved. I've always tried to stay in fitness, but fitness lacks the business acumen to really support having like a career business leader or a career marketer manning the ship. So I've always had to kind of like create my own little path and find places that were willing to believe in growth outside of what was a traditional path, and being willing to take a risk on like, let's hire a expensive career marketer and allow that person to contribute to growth. So I think it's an entrepreneurial spirit also, right? Like, and it sounds like that's where your head is at right now. So, okay, so take me from this decision to not coach to now realizing like you're a builder, you're a systems thinker, you have a great acumen for service blueprints that work. What has that transition been like for you in creating a new career opportunity?
It was somewhat a bold step. So I need to give some background. So with Sophie, we were a couple, but we broke up in 2020. But we stayed, family and friends, and business actually became better once we were not a couple. I always admire those who can manage a business as a couple really well, because for us it just didn't work. And I think we were all so young, and we just got consumed with this idea of creating our vision, professionally, not personally. But then I had another girlfriend, and she's a digital marketer, and I think she's likely someone like you who is, and it's no offense for the ladies if they feel different, but I think strategic thinking, it's more for men in general. So when you met a lady, it really hits your eye that, oh, this girl is just asking the right questions and she sees things in a very different way, no emotions involved. So with her, I just started to ask help for our brand first. And then because she's the same story like you, like, oh, I'm a digital marketer for corporate and large scale companies, banking, insurance, finance. But I love to do fitness as a person. And then when she started to look into things for our brand, she was like, this is just so bad. It's like, it's like signing up for $1 for the first 3 months. And then after that, it's $19. And we still beg you to join our facility. And it's always promoted with a client in a deadlift position. The coach is holding the knees from the back. It's the same photo. So she's like, there is not a unique message. There is not a differential. Like there is nothing that's applied that will make sense. All the things we learned in marketing and digital marketing in the last years. It's so she was like, even if I just look at anyone's page, I see like 25 million things where I could help them to be better by next day. So it's she got interested about it, and we had many conversations. And for me, the bold step was that I do believe after Russia started the war again with Ukraine, is it 2022, 2023? I'm lost on the timeline, but then economies got a hit, and actually we had a really good way up with our businesses. And then afterwards it started to stall a bit and just staying on the same level. And so suddenly you are in this defensive mode that, oh, I have to stay, I should save this, I should only do my own things once this is safe. So it was a ongoing debate with myself that, do I do what I used to do because I think I should, or do I follow the things I believe now? Because end of the day, once you look at it, it's like And maybe this can be a useful lesson for anyone who's going to listen up to this point, that that once you see you don't do what you want to do, you can really change. You really do not owe anyone anything. And one thing I recognized, because it was Sophie and we had a shareholder with us, 3 of us on the team, that once I named the things I wanted, both of them were like, yeah, of course you should go. Like, number one thing is that you are happy. Like, obviously, if you stay and help with the business, it's appreciated, but no one want to hold you back. You should not feel obliged. And I was like, okay, that's cool. So then the only thing that was left, it's me with myself. And then you came to the point that, oh, actually, I made a business age 26 with no ID that was successful within 10 months. So I'm like, if I go out now on zero, just like I did 8 years ago, 7 years ago, likely I can repeat it at least on the same level, if not better. And I think often we forget this, and then we became this scared person with a scarcity mindset that no, it will not work. It's such a big word. Why would I be good enough? And you look back your own story and you're like, oh, I was already good enough. It's like people bought fitness from me when I did not even know what I'm talking about. So it's then I made my own debate there, and I was like, oh no, it's like, this should be successful and this is what I want to do, and eventually all my network or relationships are supporting it, so why would I not go and do it? But that was this is a 2024 May up to December thinking, or
The process of making that decision, talking with yourself about it.
myself, with others, with the people around me, also to put it into practice, get it done, get out, leave the things for them. So it's a long process, but I don't think anyone should wipe off from their shoulder this if they are playing with the idea to change.
Yeah, absolutely. So now you're 4 or 5 months in to starting something new. Is that fair to say?
It's 19, I will not say it's even 2 months. So, but I would say like this 2 months is spent to start to make things formally, because informally they already happened across 2023, 2024. And but I took January for a long holiday and the beginning of February after almost having no holiday for 7 or 8 years. So I just started to be very focused in the last 6 weeks.
Amazing. And have you just been leveraging the network of relationships that you've had over the years of being a gym owner and being in the industry to start to have these conversations? Or how did securing a first kind of client in the service modeling, product development kind of space, how did that roll out for you?
It's mainly the network for the moment. I reached out to Carl earlier, and I want to come to OPEX also to have the OPEX coaches there if we can later on, because we have some experience on very minor things that can be super helpful when it's shared with the community by the right people. And but it started with the network, because you have the network, but I think it also goes into, that you have to recognize that you have a skill set, but that skill set has to be upgraded with some things you never had before. So I spent February and end of January like, how does this look like, paid ads on Google and paid ads on Facebook and Instagram, and how do you structure this, and what do marketers say, and what do those people say who do this for a decade? Because you just have an idea that at a point of time you have to reach a wider audience, and if you want to grow, I think you can depend on the network. Likely it will not always work. Plus, other thing I believe in is that you have to test your product or service, and for that you need to talk to people. And if it's only your network, it will always be limited. But if you just can reach random people by paid ads, they're gonna tell you if this makes sense or not.
Absolutely. What was the initial kind of like test offer that you put out to get some feedback on?
We started to work on, I have not 2 directions to go. And one is it's really focused on the coaches. And it's I will say it's mindset rooted, but it's not hypnotherapy and it's not this very like crazy mindset work. It's more like how they can position themselves in their own head better so they can have better conversations. So basically the client is selling themselves, not them selling the service to the client. How it should be in fitness. It's like, so, and for this, the best thought for me was always that if the client would not need you, then they would not sit in that room. And, or they would be likely coaches already. And if you take a step back from there, you are like, so why is it you who try to convince them how good you are instead of them pitching you that I have a problem which I really want you to solve? And this is even happening on a garage level. Those are people who go to the garage and they are like pissed and willing to pay anything just to fix their car. And they are like, why don't you want to take me on an appointment? Why do I have to look for another place? So I'm like, why does it work in fitness differently? And I think it's likely because most coaches never recognize how they should lead a conversation with a client, communication, how to think about it, how to think about their own thinking. So there I started last year a pilot group with other. We only put in a team from gym owners. So we were like, put your youngest people in the team and we get an amazing feedback. They were like, oh, these people are like on team meetings, they show up differently. But like when it comes to sales and working with their clients, they are like just super confident. The guy who could not lead a sales conversation is not selling PT packages of 8, 16, 24 easily. So that was super successful. So that's one thing I want to expand. It's just one thing I can agree to that's difficult about fitness, and I think that's something you see in marketing, that we still love tangible things. And I think that's why the mindset is difficult, because if you tell people that come in, we work on your mindset, and whenever you are ready, it's like, okay, what am I signing up for? Now, if you tell people that, no, you pay X, it will be 6 weeks, this is what's going to happen, this is the outcome you can expect, everyone is in. So there, my difficulty is to find the perfect package that's not against the vision and the philosophy we carry, but that makes sense also for the market and who need it the most. But that's a project we want to expand, and we recognize that you can match this actually, what you just said at the start, that once you do this, you can put a really good blueprint on this service-wise. How is the perfect service for a coach who thinks this way to put in the right clients and serve them the best? Just enough margin that they can bend it towards the way how they operate as an individual or as a team. And on the other side, I'm working now on, this is the more hardcore part with my ex-girlfriend.
Before you jump into that, I want to ask a question on that. So with the model, I know you were testing a group, and I imagine there's a lot that you can do in a small group setting, or even moderate sized group setting, from an education standpoint, and even just getting them to interact and build confidence. Do you see that also evolving into some one-on-one services? And does that give you the same kind of hesitation as you were starting to feel when you were exiting one-on-one interactions with clients in a gym setting? Or do you feel so much more fired up about the mindset coaching that you're actually interested in one-on-one development of people this way?
Repeat the question part. I'm not sure I get your point.
So I'm assuming when you're testing this offer for the mindset coaching, that it's mostly group, or is it one-to-one?
It's mainly group, but I do a lot of one-on-one, and I do the one-on-one because I think it's a mix. When you sit in the group, you get the peer support and what others do, plus you have the more experienced ones, which I think used to happen in an OPEX cohort call back in time. And when you go into one-on-one, those who don't have to speak in front of the group, or they don't think their problems are valuable enough to be addressed there, they dare to speak up. And I also take the one-on-one, because I say mindset, it's not like not hardcore mindset conversation. It's really just to discuss how we think, why we made a decision with a certain client, why we had that kind of conversation, why do we approach a sales conversation this way, why do we approach an ongoing consultation this way. And And then it shapes people's mindset because, they just get this aha moment. But in the one-on-ones, you have the chance to give them the very tactical thing, which feels like the holy grail at that moment for them. And then if they get...
Or really break through a personal barrier they might have.
I would even say it's like, what is my 3 go-to question I ask from a client, where I'm sure 99% they will sign up because it boosts their thinking the right way. And if you are an advanced person, you will recognize that those 3 questions can be reworded in a million ways. If you are a beginner, you are like, can you repeat it? And you will write, and you go and you start to try it. And once you tried it 25 times, you're like, oh, what Atti is talking about, it's not about this 3 question, it's the thinking behind this 3 question. And you're like, yeah, but where you are today, the worries you have, just go try this, implement it, and things will get better. So I think one-on-one has a place, but it's I always admired small groups because there will be, I think you can have, 50 years of experience and you're going to have their 1 year coach or trainer and they're going to word the things just much better than you do. So you will be like, oh, okay, I'm speaking about this now for 5 decades, but this guy just said it perfectly and everyone gets it. So I think there is always power in group dynamic.
Yeah, 100%. So then my question was, do you have completely different or similar feelings about coaching in this mindset space in a one-on-one context as you did when you were exiting coaching in the physical sense on the gym floor? When you said, I don't want to teach a squat, I've taught this a billion ways. Do you think that the newness of this type of coaching will that novelty wear off and you'll have the same feelings, or is it just different because everyone's problems and challenges that you're helping them navigate are so much different to think about?
So me having that feeling that I just don't want to teach a squat was deeply rooted in the idea that many people are not ready for what they truly need. So then they sign up for the thing they believe gonna help them. But if you think about it for 2 minutes, and I think if you work with OPEX, most coaches will catch this once they are done with CCP, that people really don't come to you for exercise. Those people who come to you for exercise, they work with the Proof 3 coaches. They work with Sam Smith or Henry Torano. They don't come to the average, and this is not an offensive, I'm an average ID coach. So if you work with gen population, those people come to you for the results or outcomes they expect from exercise because that's what the industry told them. And so you have a huge conflict there because the person sitting there telling that, oh, I have not done this for the last 20 years. I don't really care about my food. I'm overworking. I'm stressed. And I want you to solve this for me in weekly 2 times 75 minutes when I show up or not. And you recognize that, oh, you have a behavior problem, and your behavior problem is rooted in that you do not believe you can change. And so my biggest help should be helping you to change the way how you think. And so we can change your behaviors. So actually showing up is not a problem anymore. And this is always surprising people because they are like, oh, I did not come for counseling and this mindset work. And you are like, no, it's like, really, that's the problem. Because my secret is, and that's the funny thing, that I think any CCP coach, they love to write a program. At the same time, we know how irrelevant the program is if someone is not doing it. And I know this feeling when I scrolled Instagram and in the caption, Marcus Philly or James wrote what was their daily program. You look at a good program with A1, A2, B, C, D, and you're like, this program just looks really good. Like, I wish to do it in my training. But then you meet people with a behavior problem and it puts you into resentment. You are just not happy programs anymore because you see that they don't benefit from it because they don't know how to use it. So I believe for me it was more like, if I can work with people who put the mindset first in shape and order, I'm still excited to write a good program because I know they will do it in the right way and benefit from it. But if we are not there, I'm like, I just don't want to write a program and teach movement to someone who will abuse their lifestyle. So
Helpful. No, thank you for clarifying. That makes so much sense. And I can see why this project would be attractive to you.
it's where is the book? Slight Edge, if I pronounce it well. I have a very strong accent. And that the whole book, I think it's like 200 pages. It's very short, maybe even less. But it's just like your philosophy creates your attitude creates your actions create your results. That's the whole theme repeated again and again. So you are like, okay, so when we do actions towards results with our clients, it's just going to come to a point to stop because we didn't change attitudes and we didn't change their philosophy. And it's today it sounds like mindset coaching. And when people come to a gym, no one is excited about mindset coaching. I can get that. So you have to package it in a way where they don't recognize it. But basically, that's what I want to do with coaches, how to learn to build a service where eventually get to the point where they can do this for their clients. And we have seen that when we did this for our clients, those who get it, they were like, results are accelerated. The analogy I always use, that I think if you go on Instagram today, even on LinkedIn, like on every social platform, what you see that alcohol is bad for you, you should not drink alcohol because, and then science. And your clients will be like, fuck this, you give me science, but I have emotions. So I'm going to drink because I had a shit day. My fiance was rude. My children are annoying. So I want to drink my 2 glasses of wine. And if you tell me I shouldn't, I still want to. So I'm like, okay, so the problem is not that they don't know alcohol is wrong. Information, it's there. It's not helpful. The issue they have that they cannot imagine a life without alcohol. So if you have a client who thinks that not drinking alcohol takes away from their life, that's a thinking you should really question. You are like, why do you think your 2 glasses of wine in the evening makes you who you are? And it's I think most people are really lack of this kind of self-awareness, and that's an issue. And they bring at you like, oh, but you work in fitness, it's easy for you. You are this weirdo who doesn't want to have fun. And I'm like, I'm having a lot of fun. You thinking that alcohol equals fun is the problem. And you criticizing me who does not think alcohol equals, like you can drink. I'm not saying you should never drink. Now, if you identify as someone who has to drink every day, that's something we should really seriously think about. And I think most coaches never get there. And we see this on social media because everyone shares all the science. But we have seen science never helped any. I have never seen anyone changing life because of science.
I love what you're doing in your content because you bring this very like reality, this perspective that's real and truthful, but you do it in a way that is humorous. And I don't want to say passive aggressive because I don't think that's the right description, but it is your humor. But the content hits, if you're reading it, it hits a little harder. So what's the backstory behind the content you've been posting more recently? More particularly, I'm talking about the carousels. That's like long form, really lifestyle, behavioral coaching content.
Yeah, I think many of us think we are not good with content and we don't like posting and we don't want to be like chasing likes and stuff. At the same time, we all post half-naked training videos, so likely we want to chase those likes. My thing was that I want to be useful. So you see that most of the things it's useful on a level that it really comes with one thing you can implement. Because my take was, instead of just sharing information, how can I share something where those who can, they say, okay, actually I can do this within the next 2 days and I can try it out. And the other thing was just to be myself. Because I often held it back because you are coaching people, you work with clients, so you are like, oh, I have to navigate this, working on eggshells, how do not hurt feelings and stay empathetic and, understanding with everyone. But what you just say, passive aggressive, the one thing I recognize that those who ever felt offended about my content, those were a few clients, and those were those clients who needed it the most.
Tough love. Maybe that's a better way of saying it.
So I was like, okay, so actually when they feel offended, it's about them. It's not me being too aggressive. It's them understanding that this is a message for them, which they don't like. So they start to complain and say that I'm rude or I'm not nice or I don't understand them. And I'm like, you know me personally, like we work for X years together. You see how I work and you feel offended about the Instagram post. It just, we have to be adults. So that's the point behind it. I think humor goes through always well. I recognized humor as a core value of mine. And I think it should just be useful or eye-opening.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, I know we're like on the hour mark, but I'm so intrigued by your second project. Do you want to briefly hit on where you're going with that?
The second project, it's the funny thing that I think it's a huge ecosystem, because the other project, it's really like more hardcore on marketing and business. I just don't like it for the reason we discussed right at the start, that coaches freak out that, oh, there is another coach coming to me with business, so he's just gonna scam me for $5,000 for 6 weeks with a script which will not work for me. And I'm like, no, but I think most certification, they teach you fitness, but they never teach you business. And I think that is this very important aspect of marketing, where me, myself, I thought 7 years ago that marketing is a boosted post on Facebook. And now you are like, oh no, marketing is about getting something from your head down to the market, where they understand that it's good for them and they start to buy it and everything. So you see that there is, I think, a huge misunderstanding about that. You like, I think ideally it should be like fitness for most people that own business, that you focus on one minor issue and you are like, the bigger problem reveals itself. For me, meaning that, personal training session price, you are undercharging. So I give you a formula how to charge properly. And you are like, this is fucking high, Atti, I don't dare to charge this. So you're like, oh, so we have a mindset problem in your head about money, but we also have a service problem in your business because it's not valuable to charge this amount. So originally you thought you have like a money problem, but we have bigger, and now you are like, oh, okay, no, I improve my service. I still cannot sell. Oh, because we have a communication problem. We have to train you how to talk and stepping further. And once you are there with these people, you end up on the same. I ended up with my clients in ID, that ideally the client should recognize that, Atti, could you not start this with who and why and who I am and my mindset, so we can put the whole journey perfectly? And I'm like, yeah, I could, but you were not ready. So we had to work 3 extra years in a reverse engineer process. So in that way, we try to find how you help people with business and marketing without wasting time, just to really make that very clear statement that intention should come before action. And I'm sure you see the same if OPEX gyms or OPEX coaches come for help, that should I post more on social media? I was like, what do you want? Like, it depends. And they are like, well, this is not useful. And you're like, but it really, like, can you give me more info what you want to achieve? And once they give it, you are like, yeah, this might make sense if, but very likely not if. And it's so I think people should say, and I spend the time on Reddit to see the market, and I just see people are so lost. It's like, what are your best practices too? And I'm like, well, I can tell you in Luxembourg, flyers work so well. I think flyers globally are like 0.5% success. So you have to take out like 100,000 to get a few hundred response. And we had super high always, simply because people open that to post box and they are interested in paper. They are very traditional. I don't think we could repeat this anywhere in the world, but our Facebook ads underperformed constantly, while others would put that money anywhere in a big city and they would get 10 new leads, 7 of them would convert into client. And so I'm always like, well, if you just ask best practices, if you don't tell me the details of your business, if you don't tell me where you are, who you work with, no one can tell you if it's good. And then people are confused and they are like, okay, but you are still a business coach. You're going to sell something. And I'm like, no, I'm more like, I call it business because it's easy to understand, but it's not about the business aspect. It's about helping you to make things which are reasonable for your, like the exact same thing you do with your clients. You just do it for your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the marketing world suffers from the same challenges the fitness world does, right? You have the mass market sharing whatever is the diet of the day, the movement format of the day, and those trends ebb and flows, and everything is cyclical in marketing. I mean, I've been around 22 years in marketing, so it's constantly this evolution of from brand being the priority to performance marketing being the priority to organic to content creation to influencers. Like it's just this cycle. But again, if you know the principles and you know what you are delivering and the value it has, the problem it solves, who it solves that for, you are able to look at these set of tools in front of you from a marketing standpoint and say, well, what is the most efficient way for me to accomplish the business goal that I have? What marketing tools lend to my personal talents, right? Because not everyone is good in every format. Not everyone is comfortable in every format. Can they get there? Absolutely. Anyone can be coached and developed, but there are more efficient ways to start. So yeah, I think it's such a need, and I'm so glad that you've recognized that there's an opportunity to fill it. I think it'd be very interesting. We're starting to do the community calls again. If you ever are interested, it'd be a great idea to kind of test some of these concepts as a discussion on the community calls, and then on the back of it, of course, offer to help anyone who's interested. But I think it's a huge need.
No, I'm definitely interested, specifically because, and that might be me again, that would fit your question, if it's a personality thing. When I made OPEX CCP, I was just really great, in auto-regulating. So I came from the world of bodybuilding into going to army, so starting to train like CrossFit style. I didn't know it's called CrossFit. In Hungary, it was not that popular back then. And I was like, for me, this prep just does not make sense because I'm used to do reps and sets. So my volume was really clear. So if you tell me it's 20 minutes, I'm like, my brain was already making the math. How much reps should I do and how will that work? And if it was too short or it didn't match my fitness level, I just did it differently. So when I made CCP, where the principles are explained really well, there James even makes a statement. He said that once you understand the principles, you look at the program and it just falls off the paper, the intention. And I was like, oh, actually, I was organizing a perfect map 7 session without me knowing I'm doing a map 7 setting. And it was the same for strength, and it was the same for an MREP, that, oh, it's like my brain just went there simply because I stick to a structure for so long that worked that I didn't want to give it up. And then you understand that, oh, reps, sets, rest, all variable makes sense. Why did I start to say this? That, oh yeah, so it can be a personality thing, because even though this was for me mind-blowing, for me the best part in OPEX CCP was Jim Cravel and the business part. I'm like, oh, all these things are so simple and no one ever talks about this. And now that he talked about it, even I think back then with that part, still most coaches struggled how to implement it. So I'm like, there is a huge miss on implementation, but the tactical part was very useful to start there. And I think what you said, why I would enjoy it, because I think most coaches need like very minor tactical things they can take. And then they are like, no, I'm doing these things are like 1% better, but not 30. Why is that? And then you can start to address the big issues with them.
Yeah.
But we have seen, even with, she's called Maud, my partner in the marketing project. And she was like, she always worked large scale corporate. So she was like, yeah, I'm not sure I'm useful. I don't know these people. What will they value? And I'm like, just coming to 2-3 calls with a group. And she was sitting there and she's like, okay, these people have profitable businesses. and they do terrible things in their communication. Their website looks like crap. So she was like, there are so many things we could improve for them, which for them is a huge thing. And for you, it's like, you are like, this should be already done from the start. So I was like, yeah, it's like, we are people from fitness. It's you who understands marketing. Now your job is to communicate to us why this is important to be fixed. And if you can do that, or you have a lot of value. I'm like, she also spent more than 15 years in this. I'm like, do you think you cannot deliver value to random people who just put on social media what we love?
Absolutely. Well, that's an incredible blessing too, to have a partner who can complement you in the service delivery. So it's so exciting.
That was how you call the guy? It's Steve Barr, the guy, the Diary of a CEO. And he made a speech on an online program a month ago, 2 months ago. And he said that his biggest lesson is that you are really good in your field. If you want to beat the market, find a skill set no one else has in the market. So he said, if you work in marketing, go and learn whatever, something really unexpected. And if you come into fitness and you say, okay, I just understand marketing better than any other fitness coaches, you have a service no one else has.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say to
I would say to
OPEX coaches, likely learning financial advising would get them a lot of clients, because they could remove all the people who have money objection. And you're like, no, that's fine. We will coach you also in your money, not only in your lifestyle.
Very true. Very true. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, because I know you have a day ahead of you swimming and hopefully creating. I want to see all the things that you're creating. But I just appreciate you taking the time to me. We didn't really get to the questions that I wanted to dig with you, but that's totally okay, because this is going to be so valuable for people. I think if I could ask you one thing that we didn't hit on, if you were just entering the market right now as a new fitness coach, but you had all of the knowledge and experience that you have acquired over the years, is there something that you would tell them to focus on, or I guess execute in a way that only you know, because you have this experience that you've acquired?
If I would have this knowledge and experience entering the fitness world, I would not rent, I will not buy equipment, and I would only work from an office as a health consultant to help people fix the main issue first they have. And this sounds mysterious, and it goes back to the mindset, but you just have to listen to people. And so you recognize that your real power is not in the program. And if you write a good program, it's super useful. I think you need that experience. But I would just work out from an office, online or in person, up to the point where I have 15 to 20 clients who are ready to exercise like flawless, where they don't miss a session. Because you don't miss a session, I don't miss a session. The question is, how do we get people there? And they don't have to be fitness fanatics. They just have to have the idea that, oh, exercise is not for exercise. It's a small thing contributing to a bigger project where I'm showing up as the person I want to show up. And once I have that pool of people, I'm like, okay, now I extend my business to have a gym. But I will not make people believe that their health and fitness is about the gym.
Love that. So powerful. Thank you so much for just being you, being someone who is a thought leader and not afraid to take bold chances, and representing, I believe, what it means to be an OPEX coach so well in the market. So just thank you for your time and for sharing some wisdom with us.
I really enjoyed it. I'm used to sit in your chair. That's why I was shocked right in the minute one that you can ask in such an easy way that you jump right into the interview. So I'm not used to speak so much. I'm used to ask like you. It was a really nice conversation. Thank you.